What's up everyone, Darcblade here with a little video regarding Uncharted 4's multiplayer beta. This video is going to cover what has changed from the previous Uncharted games to what we have with the beta, and quite possibly what we'll have in the final version of the Uncharted 4 multiplayer. Most of these you'll learn over time, but for anyone who hasn't had a chance to take on the beta yet, or who never got in, they may find this video useful. Firstly, the button changes. Now, when it comes to reloading, in the past it used to be done with shoulder buttons, but now it is actually done with the triangle button. This is okay, but it can be quite annoying when you go to revive a player and instead reload, as you have to wait for the reload animation to finish, and if they're only on a little bit of life left, then you won't be able to revive them in time. Next is there's no sprint button. Uncharted 3 did have a sprint button that allowed players to travel quite fast. This is now gone. But it's not a bad thing because the general speed of Uncharted 4's multiplayer has increased, and it almost feels like you're sprinting all the time. New to the Uncharted franchise is the ability to use grappling hooks and to rope swing. You do this by pressing L1. However, you can't do this just anywhere, you have to prompt it, so keep an eye at the top of your screen to where you can latch on to something. However, your grappling hook can be used for another purpose. If you hold L1, your character will spin the grappling hook around until eventually it lights up. This means it's ready to be used as a melee weapon. So, whilst holding L1, if you press square, you will deliver a deadly hit against opponents. This will knock them down in one hit, unlike the normal melee, which takes a few. This could be very useful, and actually not many people knew about this when I first started talking about Uncharted 4's multiplayer. Next, moving on to talk about mechanics when you're actually playing the game. Firstly, there is a high emphasis on collecting money. This money can be done from downing players, or, more importantly, by collecting treasures that spawn constantly around the map. These treasures are on a timer, but they will always show up on the minimap. These fund 4 types of kickback-esque abilities. These kickbacks are almost like kill streaks. These kickback items are all accessible via a store, which you can access with the touchpad. Firstly, you have mystical abilities you can use. These mystical abilities are strange powers from the Uncharted series that can do a wide variety of things, from damaging players to acting like a UAV. Next, you have gear. Gear is like your grenades, trip mines, etc. These can be used regardless of your currency. However, if you collect enough points, you can buy a booster to them to quicken their recharge timer. Next is heavy weapons. These are more your standard kickback options that you may have found in previous Uncharted games. These heavy weapons include things like rocket launchers and shotguns. And finally, you have the sidekicks. A very interesting mechanic here. You can call in an ally to assist you in various ways. These allies can either be brutes, which are heavily armoured enforcers, snipers, support troops that can revive you, or even stalker-esque enemies that chase down opponents. Loadouts have also received a little bit of a change. There is now a system where you have 25 points to spend on your loadout, picking various bits of gear depending on what weapon you choose, perk you choose, sidekick, mystic weapon, and so on. These will add up, and eventually when you hit 25 points, that will be it. You can't spend any more. This gives you lots and lots of options when it comes to creating your loadout. This also brings me to the boosters. Boosters return to Uncharted 4's multiplayer, and they function much the same as they did in previous games. You have different levels to them, so they can be enhanced even further too. Numerous weapons in this game return from previous Uncharted installments, albeit they've had their names slightly altered or changed a bit. There are new weapons here as well, so it's not just the old bunch you found in the previous games. So you have to experiment. For example, the Gmail is now gone, instead replaced by the FAL. But if you played Uncharted 2, you realise that the FAL functions the same as it did in that game. So if there is a weapon you enjoyed in Uncharted 2 or 3, it is probably in this game hiding under another name. That being said though, there are a ton of weapons in this game, so you're bound to find something you enjoy. Next, when it comes to your gear or grenade ability, these are no longer a consumable. These are now almost like an ability on a recharge timer, so you'll never be out of grenades. Once you throw a grenade or mine or whatever you have, instead of it running out of ammo, you'll just simply have to wait a set amount of time before you can use it again. These also do not instantly recharge upon death. Also, when it comes to grenades, they can no longer be thrown back as they could in previous Uncharted titles. Next, moving on to game types. Firstly, you'll notice one very big change, and that there is now a radar. The radar was not available in previous Uncharted games, and this makes a huge difference to gameplay. Of course you won't show up on radar if you're not doing anything offensive, but firing your gun will make you appear on the map. You will also not be able to hide completely from enemies. If you respawn after a death, you will be able to see the enemy team for a brief few seconds. Also not returning from Uncharted 3 are power plays. These are no longer available. Whether they show up or not in the final version of Uncharted 4's multiplayer, I don't know. But at the moment, they're not here. Also during the beta, there is only one game type, which is Team Deathmatch, pretty straightforward. Whether Naughty Dog give us another game type towards the end of the beta, not sure yet. Also new to when you're playing Uncharted 4 is that you now have a down state. Instead of being instantly killed by an opponent, once you've taken enough damage, you'll go into a downed state. During this state, you can be revived by your teammates or finished off by an opponent. This can add a lot more strategy to the game, as loadouts could be made to perform healing roles, or even a downed opponent could be used as bait. For me, it really did make the game more enjoyable. This down state functions a little bit to what you found in The Last of Us multiplayer. Next is, there's no real stealth attacks anymore. In Uncharted 2 and 3, there were stealth attacks which you could perform by pressing a melee attack against someone if you managed to sneak up behind them. This doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Whether this is the case for the final version of Uncharted 4's multiplayer, I don't know yet. But I'm sad to see that these were not included. You'll also notice when playing matches that there is a distinct lack of medals. This is because much of the currency you earn during matches to level up, purchase new items and whatnot is earned through treasures or just simply downing or killing opponents. Actually, it's not called killing, it's called knocking out opponents. But anyway, I'm hoping in some respect that they introduce more medals to the final version of the multiplayer. Melee remains much the same, albeit it is still a little bit clumsy and awkward to use at times. And finally, you'll notice that when you are running around the map, there are no power weapons. All the power weapons are now kind of renegated or buffed up, whatever way you look at it, to the heavy weapons section of your store that you can access mid-match. As a result of no power weapons, there is a distinct lack of some other items. For example, there's no riot shields at the moment, there's no propane tanks you can use for barbecue kills and so on. So as you can see, there have been changes to Uncharted 4's multiplayer when compared to Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3. As a whole, I think this is good, and I'm hoping this beta will weed out any more problems that may occur thanks to the changes that Naughty Dog have implemented. But anyway, I hope this video helps, and until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you a quick video on what has changed with Uncharted 4's multiplayer for the Uncharted 4 multiplayer beta. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.